This is Bryce Burge, host of Your Soccer Passport. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimall, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Throughout history, the course of sports has been shaped by one thing: the fans.
From the moments you never dreamed of,
Wolpoff has saved the USA's life in this World Cup.
Hall, the runner, loose ball, it's good! Gonzaga, the flipper still fits!
To the moments that still give you nightmares.
Behind the bag, it gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth!
through the good and the bad, fans have helped change the games we watch and the players we love.
They may not be the most logical people.
You are a factory of sadness! I'll see you Sunday.
But they know their teams better than anybody.
They'll blow in the ninth.
You may not always see them, but you know where to find them.
After all, there's nothing quite like the view from the cheap seats.
Broadcasting is part of the Public House Media Network.
Grab a chair and enjoy all there is in
The cheap seats.
You know something that always strikes me with the new NFL season? There's a huge thing about roster cuts. I got to get down to 53. Got to get down to 53. And then the second the season begins, boom, season-ending injury. Now you got to go to the cut pile. All right, who did we miss? I love when this happens in the NFL because there's such a rush to get down to 53. And hello and welcome to the cheap seats. I'm Max Wolpoff. Christian Heimall is with me. Boy, the NFL... This is probably the most injury-riddled week one of any pro sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, we all thought in preseason Darius Geis's injury for the Redskins was going to be the worst we were going to see, but then week one hit, and wow, there are a lot of guys that went down over the weekend.
Yeah, and Adrian Peterson was able to be signed, and now no other team with a running back problem can go to him.
Right. Yeah, it just makes... It makes the job of a GM and a head coach very, very difficult when a guy gets injured. Very,
if
very
you
difficult.
want to run a football team, best of luck. You have a lot to go through. We thank you again for joining us here in the cheap seats, presented to you by Squadcast from Public House Media. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, Android Podcasts. We're here wherever podcasts can be found. You can find us on the Cheap Seats Facebook page. Be sure to give us a like. We'll have our poll question there. We've got a lot to get to today, and we need to at least go through some of this injury report. I want to begin with the Tennessee-Miami game, which was a disaster from the start.
It's still going on, by the way. They're still playing.
Absolutely. It's like, check my watch, the longest NFL game in history. And of course, there are so many injuries as a result of this twice-delayed game. Delaney Walker on IR. Marcus Mariota was injured. His prospects look pretty good for Tennessee. Taylor Lewan is in concussion protocol. This did not go very well for Tennessee.
Yeah, no, a rough weekend for them for sure. And this is a game that I actually had the Titans winning. I just didn't think Miami was going to play that well, even at home. But the reason I thought they were going to win is because of Marcus Mariota and Delaney Walker. And then, that obviously didn't pan out. Delaney Walker, the tight end on injured reserve, dislocated ankle and fracture in that game, which for those of you who have never dislocated your ankle or broken your ankle, oh my God, is that painful. That is not fun. So he's going to undergo surgery this week. Marcus Mariota had an elbow injury. Marcus Mariota tried to tough it out. He got hit on a handoff. Tried to tough it out, and then threw back-to-back picks. And then they were just like, you know what, you're injured. Come over here. Something's wrong. So yeah, that wasn't good. Hopefully, he'll be back for week 2. And then Taylor Lewin, it's the right move to put guys in concussion protocol. It's a smart move, and then we'll see exactly how it all pans out. But rough weekend for the Titans. I mean, and they're not the only ones. I mean, I'm looking at like 14, 15 guys that got injured, and who knows when they're going to be back.
I'm not sure. And that's part of the thing with football injuries. They're always going to be more than injuries in some other sports. I mean, they're high-speed collisions at every single stretch, every play. It's always full speed. Leonard Fournette had a sleeve coming out of the game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Keanu Neal, and with a knee injury, is on injured reserve. Deion Jones didn't practice because of a foot injury for the Falcons. And Greg Olsen, tight end for Carolina, there was no update given after the game. Man,
I mean, look at like KJ Wright. KJ Wright was told it would be a miraculous return. You're looking if he's going to play on Monday. Doug Baldwin sprained MCL for the Seahawks. You look at the Patriots. The Patriots aren't even immune to this. Jeremy Hill tears his ACL on Sunday, so they're down a running back after they just let Mike Gillislee go.
His own player run into him. That hurts.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate the way it worked. But I mean, you mentioned how Adrian Peterson, the Patriots cut Mike Gillislee. He goes and signs with the New Orleans Saints because they need someone to back up Alvin Kamara until Mark Ingram comes back from suspension, and then their guy Jeremy Hill goes down. So like the Patriots aren't even immune to this stuff. You're looking at other guys. You mentioned Fournette, Ziggy Ansah, the defensive end for the Jets or for the Lions, excuse me. He got hurt in Monday night's game, did not return. He might be able to come back though, but I mean, all of this is moot when you think about the fact that we almost on Sunday night saw the entirety of Packer Nation, have an asthma attack, have a panic attack on Sunday night when Aaron Rodgers was carted off the field.
Almost. They kind of did for 2 quarters.
Yeah, and then things worked out for them, but still, I mean, it's oh my goodness, like the NFL this week was brutal in terms of the injuries. In terms of that, it was absolutely brutal.
Isn't it always?
I mean, yeah, you've got. I mean, but I think you're right. What you said earlier, that it was one of the more injury riddled week ones that we've seen, because I mean we're used to guys. It's unfortunate we're used to those type of injuries. I mean, Odell Beckham, it was week 3 last year. Aaron Rodgers, it was like week 7, week 9, something like that. I mean Brady, when he went down in 2009, I think that was at the season opener when Matt Castle came in, something like that. I
believe that was the Matt Castle game.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still like it's just one of those things that it's like this has been one of the worst week ones in terms of injuries that I can remember, at least.
Let's switch gears to golf because we're approaching the final week of the FedEx Cup, and Jordan Spieth is going to miss the Tour Championship for the first time in his career, and he's going to face penalties for it.
Yeah, this is weird.
I've never heard of this rule. Never heard of this.
Well, I've never heard of the rule, but I mean, like, so here's the thing. So you have to, the way the FedEx Cup playoffs work, you have to qualify to make the playoffs as one of the top, I think it's like 100 players or whatever it is. And then there are 4 tournaments that you play. Each of those first 3 tournaments, you have to, based off of your positioning, you have to earn enough points in the playoffs to be able to advance into like the top 75, the top 50, and then the top 30. So, Jordan Spieth, finished after this weekend at the BMW Championship in Delaware. He finished 31st in the FedEx Cup points. Needs to finish in the top 30. Never finished worse than 15. He's never finished worse than 15th in each of his last 5 years. Winning the FedEx Cup 3 years ago. Did not play well, tied for 54th over the weekend, and therefore fell out of the top 30 because he was there in the top 30, fell out of it, and now he'll miss the Tour Championship coming up in Atlanta this weekend. Just to put this in perspective for you guys, Keegan Bradley won the tournament. He was sitting at 52nd, and now he's at 6th, just so that you guys kind of get an idea here. Xander Schauffele jumped up 23 places to 18th. only 2 players fell out of the top 30. And I guarantee you have no idea who the other one is, Max.
I'm looking at it in the article and I still can't find it.
Emiliano Grillo.
Bless you.
Exactly. Thank you. It's wow. He was projected to be 31st. He was given a reprieve when the tournament was shortened 54 holes, but because of rain and the potential of Hurricane Florence, couldn't take advantage though, and just played absolutely terrible on Monday in what was eventually the final round. This has been a very difficult year for Jordan Spieth, who began the year ranked 2nd in the world, but is now outside of the top 10.
Now, what I bring up with the penalty, and I'm drawing this from the ESPN article that we're both reading right now, as part of the rule where you have to play 25 events in a year-long season, otherwise you face either financial penalties of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Spieth is at the mercy, basically, of the tour's commissioner, Jay Monahan, because he has some discretion to say either we're going to sanction you or we're not.
Yeah, so they're required to play 25 events in the 2017-2018 season. Rule was put in place last year to make sure that fields were actually competitive. Requires players who are not lifetime members or veterans like Woods, Phil Mickelson, Vijay Singh to play at least one event per year that they have not played in the past 4. The requirement can be waived if a player competes in 25 events in either the previous or current season. Last year, Spieth met the 1 in 4 rule because he played just 24 times, but Spieth met the 1 in 4 rule, played 24 times. This year, he did not add a new event. The Ryder Cup, which counts against him this year, will give him just 24 events. So not only is he missing the Tour Championship by being 31st in the FedEx Cup points, he's missing the Tour Championship and getting penalized, which would have been his 25th event. So if he made the FedEx Cup, if he made it in the top 30 and played this weekend, he would have had his 25. And now, like you said, he's at the discretion of Jay Monahan of what he's going to do here with Jordan Spieth.
Let's move to the NHL, because I'll have a great Wild Wednesday story when we get to the end of the show. I'm pretty sure Christian already knows what I'm talking about. But here at the front of the story, we need to tie back in our favorite trash talker, Jalen Ramsey, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, saying that he could probably crack an NHL roster in 6 months. He has, by the way, never skated before.
Yeah.
Now, hockey players are a little ticked off, a little insulted.
As they should be.
I mean, this is 6 months to learn how to skate. I haven't.
Not just skate at an NHL level.
No, that's not how this works. That's not how anything works.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at some of the quotes that some of these guys are saying. Jack Eichel for the Sabres, I think it's insulting to our league. For us as players, we dedicated our lives to be playing in the NHL. To think after 6 months you could come play arguably one of the hardest sports in the world, it's ridiculous. It's ignorant. That's pretty solid. Vladimir Tarasenko, there's no chance he can play in the NHL in 6 months. It's impossible. Him saying that declasses our sport. Let's see. Dylan Larkin, he said he's never skated before, so there's no chance.
Man.
Seth Jones, you can't even learn to skate in 6 months. Even John Tavares, I wish him good luck. That's great. Like, Tavares saying that is really, really funny. I'd tell him good luck then. But, I mean, you're right. This is one of the things that, like, and first off, Jalen Ramsey, I don't think deserves the trash talk this week, because he said that, Eli Manning is only good because of Odell Beckham and that he could shut down Odell Beckham. And Odell had 8 catches for 92 yards against him this week.
He had quite a
So, and Eli, I think himself so Odell had 11 catches for 111 yards total, but he had 8 catches for 92 yards when matched up against Jalen Ramsey. Eli threw for 224 yards on a pretty solid completion percentage at 23 of 37. So, yeah, Jalen Ramsey's not really allowed to talk trash this week.
Now, I really want to bring up 2 differing viewpoints on the Jalen Ramsey on be able to crack an NHL roster. New York Rangers winger Chris Kreider probably had the most technical explanation. that, quote, I think he's an unbelievable athlete, but skating is a skill set unto itself, just like running is, just like swimming is. Think of someone who has never swam before. If you've never been in the water before, no matter how good of an athlete you are, chances are you're not going to be an Olympic caliber swimmer in 6 months, end quote.
Yeah.
I think that's a great comparison, because being on ice and on skates with the equipment you need and the skill set you need and the ability to use different muscle groups than running, it really is a different skill. It's hard.
Yeah. You're right. It's very difficult. I mean, listen, I've been around hockey my entire life. I still am not comfortable skating.
I mean, I can skate. I can't skate backwards, and I can't do a crossover to save my life, but I can skate forward.
Yeah, I can't even really do that, to be honest. I get going, and then it's like, oh, crap, I don't know how to stop.
No, I don't know how to stop either. I recently learned how to stop.
I'm like Jose and Mighty Ducks. I'm just waiting to crash into the boards and hope that everything's okay.
I mean, the team I worked for last season, I basically was like, all right, I'm gonna be part of the Christmas skate. I'm gonna be part of the Christmas skate. I'm gonna be part of the Christmas skate. I hadn't skated in 6 years. It took me about 30 minutes to finally get my skating legs back.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Now, we need to move to our extended debate segment. This week, we've got the big question: who had the better opening weekend, college football or the NFL? We'll make our cases. We'll be right back on the Cheap Seats, brought to you on Public House Media.
Hi, this is Emily.
This is Lindsay.
And this is Elizabeth,
co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Once you are done with this episode, we hope you'll come check out our show, Beauties and Headcanons, where we talk nerdy to you about fandoms, fan fiction, and all pop culture for nerds that you can think of. A new show comes out every Friday.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Kim Meyer, the host of Choose to Rise here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Choose to Rise, where we talk about living with positive mindsets, how to increase our confidence, building our faith, and living out our life on purpose. A new show comes out via podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if you want to catch the episode live instead, stop by Public House Media around 6:45 Central Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday as well. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Choose to Rise. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip.
And we're back on the Cheap Seats. Thank you again for joining us for all your sports talk on the Cheap Seats, the only show where we bring you some of the craziest things of sports every week, all the time. Welcome back to Wild Wednesday. College football is in its second week, but we need to begin with how their strong week one, whether or not they had a better week one than this past weekend for the NFL. Christian, I know you and I have been back and forth about this, about whether or not college football as a general rule is a better week one and how that translated to this year. I think I generally agree with you that college football is the better first week, but boy, did the NFL need this weekend.
Well, I mean, yeah, they needed it, but I mean, my argument here is that, you know, the NCAA, first off, I mean, if we're going full scale, I think the NCAA college football as a whole is a better sport than the NFL, but we can have that discussion at a later date if we really want to. But when it comes to week one, the thing about college football that is so exciting, there are a number of different things I think that make college football better, and it's showcased heavily on week one. The first being the fact that college football is so much, its fan base isn't just regional. It's not about, you know, oh, I live near Buffalo, so I'm going to root for the Bills, or I live, you know, in Southern Virginia, so I'm going to root for the Carolina Panthers instead of the Washington Redskins. You know, it's about the fact that I went to this school. My father went to this school. My dad, we watched their games growing up. You know, I grew up Catholic, so I'm Notre Dame fan, that kind of whole thing, you know, or For some, there are so many different ways that you become a fan of a college team that just makes the fan bases that much more diverse, that much more exciting. And week one for any sport, opening day for any sport, is a lot of fun. But when you add in the fact that it's alums, it's their families, it's people who have emotional ties to the school, and then you add in the fact that, oh yeah, by the way, we also live in Baton Rouge, so we're also, Louisiana State fans. It changes a dynamic of that. Like for instance, it's not just I have friends who went to Alabama. They are from New York, but they went to Alabama, so they're huge Crimson Tide fans. And then you have people in Alabama who are huge because they don't have a pro football team. They are huge Alabama fans, even though they didn't go to Alabama. They may have gone to like Miami, or they may have gone to some other school. So the fan bases are that much more diverse, that much more exciting. The tailgates are so much better. Oh my God, it's not even fair. And week one, it's like a holiday because it's the first tailgate of the year. Now, they're so much better for a number of reasons. The first and probably the biggest being the fact that college kids can go a lot more than some of these dudes who are buying season tickets to like the Jets or whatever it is. But it's so much more exciting from a tailgate standpoint. And then when you include the fact that you don't have all the, crap that goes on with the NFL off the field. Yes, this year in college football, you had the Jordan McNair incident. You had Urban Meyer at Ohio State. You did have black eyes on the sport heading into the week. They aren't things that, and it's unfortunate because Jordan McNair and Courtney Smith are victims that need to be discussed throughout, but they kind of almost go by the wayside once things play. In the NFL, on the other hand, you're looking for signs of these problems that have been discussed all off season right before kickoff. You're looking to see, is Kenny still going to take a knee and all that stuff. So that kind of continues a black eye on college, on the NFL. So those are two of my big points. Number one, the fan bases make college football that much more exciting, make week one that much more exciting because they're so much more diverse and because their tailgates are better. And then number two, and this is kind of an unfortunate positive for my argument, is the fact that the quote-unquote black eyes on the sport in college football tend to go away once we actually start playing football, as opposed to in the NFL, they are actually a part of playing football, those black guys currently. So I'll let you rebut to those, and then I've got my biggest one coming up.
Part of what I love and hate about the college football opening weekend is that it's on all weekend. There are so many games.
Oh my God, that's the best. That's one of the best parts.
Hang on, I'm getting to why I don't like it in a second. I love the growth of content. I love that there's a game Thursday night. I love that there are games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and heck, even this year there was a Monday night game. What I don't love about it is watching Wisconsin demolish Western Kentucky. I hate watching Stanford beat a team in San Diego State that I can basically guess they're going to beat. I don't like how Alabama is playing the night game against a clearly not as superior Louisville team. I don't like Georgia. Forget about that. The Austin Peay State Governors did not have a shot. Ohio State, Oregon State. Oregon State put up a fine showing, but Ohio State was just that much better. I hate watching the first week of games because I can basically predict the winner for 80-90% of them. It's pretty clear who's going to win most of these games. The only super competitive game that I even remember watching very much was Penn State Appalachian State, and that was not supposed to be a competitive game.
Yeah, so here's what I'll say to that. It's great that there's one of the reasons why I love college football is because there are so many college football games that are on, as you mentioned. And yes, I mean, the first couple of weeks when you're playing non-conference, like Ohio State, winning 77-31 over Oregon State, that might not be exciting, but you know what? To your point, there's so much content. You can switch if you want to. You don't have to watch this. True. You don't have to sit there and go, you know what? Oh, crap. I've only, like for instance, this past weekend in the NFL, because I live in North Carolina, I was forced, the only two options without paying for like DirecTV Now or, Red Zone or whatever it is, my only two options for games at 1 o'clock on Sunday were the Buccaneers and the Saints, which turned out to be a good game late because the Saints had to come rushing back, and then that poor excuse for football in Cleveland between the Browns and the Steelers. Those are my only two options. Meanwhile, week one in college football, if I didn't like the fact that Alabama was going up against Louisville, which I didn't watch a single second of that game. You know what I watched instead? I waited just a little bit longer, and I watched Oregon and Bowling Green, or I watched Maryland and Texas. You can watch a number of other different games, and then you've got those competitive contests. And so that's what makes college football great, is that there are so many schools that play it. There are so many games. You can choose which one you're actually going to watch. And for the most part, you don't really have to pay for those extra packages. You could watch on CBS where the SEC is playing. You could watch on NBC where Notre Dame is playing. You could watch on Fox Sports where it's the Pac-12. Or if you have the Big Ten Network, you can watch there. You can watch the ACC. You can watch the Big 12. There's so much content there that you can flip between those games. You don't have to sit there and watch that boring as anything blowout of Austin Peay or whatever it might be.
I do like the college football television deal where it's across multiple networks. It's across a lot of channels. You can basically watch one game each channel. You don't need to divide it up by region. I love that part of it, and I really, really wish the NFL had a better television contract, because I'll get to why I'm angry at the NFL for not letting me watch Cleveland, Pittsburgh, but we'll get to that later. When you build up to the big games in college football, you build up to Michigan, Notre Dame, the restart of a great rivalry. 7 million plus people tuned in to watch that on NBC. Yeah. Fantastic draw.
Mm-hmm. And then, and again, the thing with college football, and the reason why I think they have a better week one, is because the way that ever since the college football playoff came into existence, you've been forced to see a different mentality in terms of scheduling. You've been forced to see Michigan reschedule Notre Dame and vice versa on opening weekend, which is awesome. You've been forced to see teams like last year, unfortunately DeAndre Francois got injured, but you had Alabama, Virginia Tech in the opener. Alabama, Florida State in the opener. So you've got LSU versus Miami in the season opener. Which turned out to be a blowout for LSU, and Miami vastly overrated apparently. Week one in college football, and then when you talk about Maryland upsetting Texas, when you talk about let me see here. I know there was another one that was really, you talk about App State taking Penn State to overtime. You talk about Auburn beating Washington in that game in week one. You talk about Florida State losing to Virginia Tech, getting blown out by Virginia Tech. The college football week one means so much more than the NFL does week one. NFL week one is glorified fifth week of preseason, because your season can still change in the NFL after week one. With the college football playoff and with the way that the ranking system is set, if you lose week one, your season's over. You can't come back from that. You got to hope for somebody else to lose. Week one is so important and so critical to the rest of the season. I will happily say that the college football regular season means so much more than the NFL does, and that's yet another reason why I think they have a better week one, just because it's so much more important in that opening week.
And you know what's great about both big football leagues have huge week ones. The off-season buildup is crazy dumb at the college level. I worked for a small baseball team over the summer. My co-broadcaster had just graduated from Alabama, and one of our social media interns, she was going into her fourth year at Georgia. Every single game, they were at each other's throats. And they were just all about the recruiting, all about the game and how the championship was lost or won. And every single day, I just wanted them to shut up.
But that's the beauty of college football. It means so much more than the NFL does. I mean, how many people do you think really care? You had to wait until halftime of the Monday night game for Jets fans to really get excited about Sam Darnold. They were all kind of a little pessimistic, yeah, he's great, but they're still not going to be that good. Or you had to wait until the third quarter for the Bills to finally give up and put in Josh Allen. No, in college football, you have it right there at the start from the very first kickoff. It's, oh my gosh, if Tua Tagovailoa goes down, we are screwed for the entire season. Auburn fans are going, if Jason Stidham is going to play like this, we are screwed for the rest of the season. We have no chance in the SEC. They don't, but they still have at least some semblance of hope because they're playing well. And then that brings me to my last point that I'll make about college football. In the NFL, you pretty much know who your MVP is going to be. You pretty much know it's going to be Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or some other quarterback. In college football, your Heisman Trophy, your MVP, could be a quarterback, could be a running back. We're talking about a defensive tackle right now leading potentially the Heisman race. It's all over the place. The individual player hype is so much better than it is in the NFL, because we could talk about Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, all those great skilled players, but we're never going to say they're an MVP. We're never going to say that. We're going to sit there in the college football level and go, you know what, Bryce Love, that's a Heisman Trophy winner right there. He plays running back. That's awesome. That's what I love about college football, is that there's so many different positions, so many different players that have the opportunity to be that top guy in the league and in the country.
And I'll add something to your point here. I think the true MVPs of college football are the fans, because the fans are rabid, the fans are irrational, and especially online, they are some of the most passionate people I've ever seen anywhere at any time. I've never seen 100%. People more irrational than tweeting at Jalen Ramsey, please transfer to my school, as if it's that easy when Tua came in to play for Alabama. I couldn't believe it. Like, these are fans of a football team that they do not play for. They may or may not live in the area. They may or may not have even gone to that school. But please transfer out of Alabama to my university, because I need to feel good about my college football team for 3 months.
Yep. God, I love college football so much. I really do.
Oh, man.
I love Saturdays. Saturdays are the
college
best.
Football fans are a very different breed from myself. Like, I can get up for game day. I can get excited. I've been plenty excited on this show many a times. But boy, I struggle to even look at what college football fans do, the dedication, the money, the time, just the effort that goes to being a big-time fan of a huge program, or even a middling program that is looking good or in a big game. I struggle to see this and go, do I have enough dedication to park myself at the college game day tailgate and in the wee hours of
at 3 a.m.
wee hours of the previous day to stay there for a whole day? I do not have that gumption.
Oh, no, I do. And that's why college football is awesome.
Well, good for you. All right. Now, I'm going to have to make the case for the National Football League. I, again, will argue that this week, and probably this week alone, they needed it. They needed this weekend. We'll be right back on the cheap seats on Public House Media.
This is Sam Kirby, host of Cinema Stories here on Public House Media. Thank you for tuning into the following broadcast here on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Cinema Stories, where we talk about movie and TV news and reviews, and maybe, just maybe, we'll learn a little something about ourselves. If not, then maybe I made you laugh a couple of times. I don't know. New episodes air bi-weekly on Tuesdays. Thanks again for checking out the totally spectacular following broadcast here on Public House Media.
How's it going, everybody? This is Keith.
And Katie, hosts of Coffee with Keith and Katie, here on Public House Media.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. When you're done here, I hope you'll check out our show, Coffee with Keith and Katie,
where we talk about our lives and relationship over a cup of coffee.
A new episode airs on Facebook Live every Monday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Coffee with Keith and Katie.
Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Welcome back to Cheap Seats by Public House Media. I'm Max. Christian's with me. Christian, I am angry at CBS today.
Why? What'd CBS do now?
CBS, instead of showing me the end of Cleveland-Pittsburgh, decided to cut to professional bull riding.
Well, I mean, it happens, you know? You got to have contracts in there. Your region doesn't matter, all that fun stuff. That's why college football is better. You can go back and watch what you want.
No, I wanted to see overtime of Cleveland-Pittsburgh, of that terrible football game that featured horrible plays, bad play by Ben Roethlisberger, not the star running back for Pittsburgh. I didn't care. I wanted to see if Cleveland Browns fans were going to charge those Bud Light fridges just in their home park. I wanted to see them charge those fridges. I wanted the cameras right there. Oh, it was right there. So,
and I love how Bud Light said, nope, it was a tie. You didn't win. They're staying locked. I love that. That was awesome. It was a good job by Bud Light.
So this opening weekend for the NFL, I think more so than most other opening weekends, the NFL needed to get back to football. They needed to get back to the content of the game on the field, to throw away some of the stories that have dogged them and followed them throughout the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely needed it, but did that make for this week to be better? Like, did that make week one better for them? Because, I mean, there was so much discussion about the anthem policy, which they announced, by the way, on like Saturday, that they weren't going to address their 2018. There was going to be no anthem policy, so they just basically punted and said, we'll deal with it next year. The whole what's a targeting penalty and all that stuff, when only one was called in the first 14 games of the weekend on Sunday. So that was kind of a non-issue whatsoever. But then you mentioned that really terrible game in Cleveland that really, I watched a lot of that game. I don't know why I was forced to watch so much of that game when I would have much rather watched Jacksonville and New York. But there was a wrong penalty called. There was a roughing the passer that should not have been called against Myles Garrett, that the very next play led to a Steelers touchdown. So, like, there's still controversy coming out of the week than there was going in.
Well, isn't that what makes for good television?
I mean, it makes for good content. It gives you and I stuff to talk about. Otherwise, we'd just be sitting here, talking, the differences between coffee and tea and why I prefer to drink coffee in the morning.
I mean, I prefer tea. So that this again, why we're different. We're different.
Gives us better content than that, I guess.
Sure. Now, the Thursday night opener had a big drop, and I again attribute some of this to the fact that it was delayed. This game started way too late for a lot of East Coast viewers, and I don't care how big Philly fans are waiting. They want to see that banner go up, and the second it goes up, all right, I can go to bed.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it doesn't help that the Philly fans started booing at halftime again. We're back to being Philly fans. That's awesome. Back to being Philly fans.
You can be a defending champion, but the Philadelphia almost burned their city to the ground when they were happy.
Yep. You had guys eating horse crap. Like, you literally had guys eating horse poop off the street.
So dumb.
Philly's weird, man. Philly's got weird people.
Yes, they do. But I think a lot of cities have their strange sector, but Philly seems to be a more inordinate proportion.
Where do you feel more safe? Philadelphia after a championship, or Buffalo prior to a Bills game?
Ooh, okay. Hang on.
Where do you feel safer?
I have a question about Buffalo. Am I near the stadium?
Yeah, you're tailgating a Bills game.
Okay. I would.
You're either on Broad Street after a title, or you're with the Bills Mafia for a tailgate. Where do you feel safer?
Feel safer with Bills Mafia.
That says a lot about Philadelphia. That says a lot about Philly.
Yeah, but again, this is all right. This is going to be my only point on this. As part of Bills Mafia, you can be the person with the camera, or you can be the person diving off your trailer to jump onto your buddy laid out on your tailgating table, destroy your tailgating table, as if you're trying to be Shawn Michaels with that top rope elbow drop.
Shane McMahon. Well, Shawn Michaels, yes, one or two.
I prefer Shawn Michaels because he's wrestled more than Shane McMahon, but that is important right now.
Fair enough. And you bring up a valid point. You could always be the one filming the idiots. You don't have to necessarily be the idiots. Okay.
You can. Now,
fair enough.
For Donald,
to your point.
For President Trump to even make the wide-reaching claim that if the players stood proudly for our flag and anthem, and it is all shown on broadcast, maybe ratings would come back. Sorry, I have to read. I have to read his tweets in an impression, otherwise I will go insane.
That was actually pretty good.
I do what I can.
That was well done.
For him to rip the flag demonstrations and the lack of the anthems on broadcast as part of the NFL's problem for that first week is a huge, huge step. That is a giant leap and bound over to the other side.
But it's also factually wrong.
It is wrong. It's a leap and bound thing of this happened, therefore one caused the other. No, that is an assumption. You made an assumption and you're wrong about it.
Yep. So I mean, to your argument here with regards to the ratings, yes, they were down on Thursday night, but again, like you mentioned, it started late. It wasn't a good game to begin with. Like, it was very sloppy play. There were 26 penalties called combined, I think, between the two teams, which didn't help in terms of the watching of the actual game. But when you look at the weekend, this is from the New York Post from late Monday night. CBS and Fox posted ratings gains for week 1, raising hopes that years-long decline in viewership may be ending. CBS had a 10.6 overnight rating for its regional games, 23% increase. It's this is the most ridiculous. This might be the dumbest thing of the weekend. Baltimore Buffalo, which by the way ended with a 47-3 win for the Ravens, was the highest recorded week 1 game since 2017. The most watched game since 2015 on CBS was a 47-3 blowout in which Joe Flacco looked like playoff Joe Flacco because the Bills are god-awful.
It was bad. It was very bad.
But that's insane that the ratings were that high for that terrible of a game.
Now, I will say probably the most dramatic game of the weekend saw a huge drop in ratings with just a slot, and that was Green Bay, Chicago.
But my problem, Sunday Night Football is always too late, in my opinion. You can't have an 8:20 kickoff because New York will go to bed at halftime, especially when Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and people think that it's over. I stayed up simply to find out if he was going to come back, and then as soon as I saw that he set foot on the field in the second half and threw 3 passes, I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed. I can't watch this. Like, it starts too late. It really does.
And it starts late for the East Coast viewers. And again, that's where the population centers of most of the United States are. New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and if you want to throw in all of Florida there too, all East Coast time zone, you have to start to cater to bigger audiences.
You do. Now listen, I mean, this Sunday it'll be different. Oh, there's no Sunday night game this weekend.
Actually, I forgot about that. Wow.
I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, so wait, no, there is. This Sunday night's Giants Cowboys. You're gonna have you're gonna have a great rating because it's New York City. New York City will stay up to watch the Giants Cowboys.
Will absolutely stay up to watch the Giants. I mean, they stay up to watch the Giants. They stay up to watch the Jets last.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stay up to watch the Giants. I'm a Giants fan. I'm gonna stay up to watch them.
Man, I still think with all the drama this past offseason with the NFL, with not just Donald Trump consistently nagging the NFL about the anthem policy, fans nagging the NFL about the anthem policy, with the overhaul and the upturn of rosters of this person, this player, the pump ups and the tear downs of so many players were all the way wrong for week 1. And it was fantastic to watch. It was great to see Jimmy Garoppolo get his first loss as a starter.
Yeah, I mean, and it was fun to watch, the Bengals surprise a lot of people with the Colts. It was really interesting to watch the Buccaneers, Ryan Fitzpatrick, go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in New Orleans. Like, he just went nuts.
That was fun.
It was
that
awesome.
was so much fun.
It was great to watch, and I love the Saints. I really, if all due respect to Lambeau Field, all due respect to Soldier Field and Pittsburgh and all these great places. If you've never seen a football game in New Orleans in the Superdome, you're missing out, man. A Saints home game is fun.
Okay, instead of watching Monday Night Football, I watched Monday Night Raw a few nights ago, and they were in the Smoothie King Center, like across the street from where the Saints play.
Right.
And one of the superstars decided, I feel this crowd is a little off. Is it because the Saints lost? And the boo.
Yeah. Oh, the booze. All the boos.
They started chanting, "Who dat? Who dat? Who dat?" You don't get that everywhere.
Yeah. You don't. It's awesome. It's awesome.
That was.
I love New Orleans.
That was fun. And again, I'd love to visit New Orleans at some point. I've still never been to Louisiana, which is weird considering I've traveled.
It's just New Orleans. It's fine. You don't need to go anywhere else.
Okay, fine. All right.
Don't go to Baton Rouge. Don't go, to I don't even know another city in Louisiana. I don't know if other cities exist in Louisiana.
Shreveport. I only know that.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
I only know that because some baseball players I've broadcast games for were from Shreveport.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Fair enough.
Anyway, I still argue this weekend, from a need perspective, the NFL had to get back to football. They had to get away from any of the garbage off the field. They had to finally get a product on the field for people to talk about games, for people to talk about fantasy, for people to talk about even the now legalized sports betting. The NFL needed this weekend.
They did, and they performed well because there were upsets. There were results you didn't expect to have happen. I still will argue, though, that if we're talking overall, the NCAA had a better week one just because it's more meaningful. It's more meaningful from an actual game standpoint. So, like, for instance, the Saints losing opening weekend, they went 0-2. They've gone 0-2 the last 4 years. They were a miracle play away from the NFC Championship game. It doesn't matter if you lose week one. It does not matter. At least in the NFL, it does.
There is that. And in college football, you lose week one. Well, we're not making the college football playoff.
Exactly.
All right, Christian, I think we're going to just have to respectfully disagree here because I still think that the need question, the NFL needed to get away. They needed to get out of the commercials, out of the news, and into the sports pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did. They certainly did finally. So good on them.
And I still can't wait for those beer fridges to open in Cleveland.
I kind of want to go just to see.
Man, Cleveland football.
I put the Cleveland Browns game too, and those. They're a different level of
They're
psycho.
a different breed. There's something out of Lake Erie there.
Yep.
All right. We've got our Wild Wednesday coming up. And if you've never heard us do Wild Wednesday, boy, are you in for a treat today because I have something big time to talk about with the Ottawa Senators. We'll be right back with the Cheap Seats brought to you on Public House Media, presented by Squadcast.
I'm the Greg.
And I am Dave Show.
We host the Greg and Dave Show on Public House Media.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out our show, The Greg and Dave Show, where we talk about strange, bizarre, and sometimes just downright quirky news stories that you may not have heard about.
A new show comes out every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And hey, thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Daniel Poppy, host of How to Write Good here on Public House Media. I just want to thank you for listening to the following broadcast brought to you by Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope that you'll come check out my show, How to Write Good, the writing show that is not about writing. A new show of How to Write Good comes out every Wednesday, so don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of How to Write Good. Again, thanks for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
By the rights, how bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
Ooh, baby. It's time for Wild Wednesday. Before we get into our stories, we need to bring up our poll question. Who had a better opening weekend? The National Football League or the NCAA football? So be sure to give us a vote. Whether you agree with Christian, it was NCAA.
College football.
Whether you agree with me, it was pro football. Anyway, we had a whole thing between the segments about our Boston accents because again, I go to school up here, so have to figure out a way to fit that in somehow. Now, I've got a bonus story for you, Christian. So this was an absolutely farcical moment in soccer.
Farcical?
Yes, farcical.
Boy, that's a $2 word up there.
Oh, yeah. I'll take another one for $5, please, Mr. Trebek. Now, Gambia played Algeria in an African Confederations qualifying match.
Okay.
And the scene in Gambia at a stadium that holds 25,000, they managed to fit 40,000 people.
There's a box office manager just lying through his teeth to get a bonus about a game attendance.
No. Oh, no. They absolutely had 40,000 people.
Seriously?
Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
The seats were packed. People were sitting in the scaffolding just to watch the game. They were around the racetrack that surrounded the field just to see this game. They absolutely...
Is it Algeria?
Algeria. It was in Gambia.
Oh, God, this is over the week. Oh, my God, I'm looking at pictures. Yeah. Oh, my God.
You haven't seen the
That's insane.
People like just sitting in the scaffolding of the stadium, not even in a seat. They're not even comfortable. They are in the scaffolding just to watch a soccer game.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That can't be safe.
No, it's not. And that's what makes it wild.
That's
anyway.
Awesome. Good on these people.
That's my bonus story for this week. Christian, what do you have for us? You were telling me that you're basically going to do up your Mojo Monday story with a pretty bow and call it another one.
So I mentioned this on Monday, on the Monday episode with John and I, but this is just one of the weirdest stories ever, and very few details have emerged from it, but it's just I think it's worth repeating. The Detroit Tigers suspended their television broadcasters, play-by-play guy Mario Impemba and color analyst Rod Allen, for the rest of the season. And the reason they did so is because, if you didn't know, last Wednesday, a week ago, they got into a fight, like a physical fight.
I did that.
Over a chair. It was all about a chair, supposedly, but these guys have been working together for 15 years. They've never apparently been friendly with one another, but it's insane. Apparently, this whole thing ended when Rod Allen started chasing Impemba and strangling him outside the broadcast booth, which is nuts. So, like, that's just insane to me. And when you think about it, so WDIV radio or TV in Detroit, they went out and they found some other, little bits and pieces here of information, basically saying that if you go back and look and listen to the game, there were some moments where you could tell something was wrong, including a 43-second stretch of complete and total silence in the bottom of the sixth inning. These guys now you and I are both broadcasters. 43 seconds is an eternity for absolute complete silence, and it's awkward. So there's something seriously wrong. This is just weird to me. The Erie announcer who, let's see here, the AA Erie Seawolves, Greg Gania, was given the reins on Saturday, filling in for Dan Dickerson, who had to Dan Dickerson got shifted over to TV from radio, and Greg Gania ended up gets promoted from AA up to the majors. It's just a weird story all around. Who knows if these guys are going to come back in 2019? But oh my God, an issue about a chair in the broadcast booth causes you to go out and put your partner in a chokehold? Seriously?
I mean, hang on. You saw Mike and the Mad Dog, right? The 30-30?
Yes, but they never actually fought each other.
Their arguments were all over who got to sit in the big chair, who gets to sit in the power chair. That was where pretty much all of their arguments originated from, whether they were arguing about the Giants, whether they should do whatever. Their arguments were based on, am I sitting in the power chair and am I right?
You're literally it's just
I know.
Weird. It's just so strange.
It does not matter to me where I sit in a broadcast booth as long as I can see the field. As long as that is taken care of, I will accommodate whatever someone else wants to do. Now, all right. I did see that story, and when that story broke, I was very confused. I think there's a lot more than a chair at issue here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to wait on that one. Now, Christian, did you, by any chance, see the last couple of nights in NHL Twitter?
No, because I just realized on Saturday that the NHL is coming back in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing. The NHL is coming back in 3 weeks, and by the way, the defending Stanley Cup champion.
My God.
I will be obnoxious about this until the end of the season. Defending Stanley Cup champions.
You're going to make me hope they miss the playoffs. You know that, right? You're going to make me hope they miss the playoffs.
You know what? That's just fine by me. Fine by me. So one of the how do I put this lightly? One of the dumpster fire teams in the NHL are the Ottawa Senators. They have been in a front office mess the last couple of years. Their ownership is wacky. Their general manager can barely do his job properly. Their star player, their captain, might be on the way out and probably should be on the way out. And a couple nights ago, Monday night, they decided to release a 5.5-minute video with Eugene Melnick, the team's owner, and Mark Borowiecki, one of their team's defenders, sitting in 2 chairs in a 3-camera interview setup where it's barely even an interview. And the cringeworthy stuff of the super corporate video that they...
So wait, is the owner interviewing the player, or is the player interviewing the owner?
The player is interviewing the owner, and Mark Borowiecki, I give him a huge applause for pulling his teeth the way through that. He looked so uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because the questions were probably written by the owner for the player.
What questions? He barely asked a single question. Like, just to watch Mark Borowiecki's face as Eugene Melnick talks, the entire video it's a theater unto itself to see, can he hide his true emotion? Can he hide this? Can he do this in front of the owner? Like, that was a walk I never want to travel in someone else's shoes.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do that either.
You're basically being asked to interview your boss of how great they are.
Yeah, that's just weird.
So
that's a really bad PR. I wonder who forced that PR move. Oh wait, probably
Eugene Melnick. So Melnick, just to go through the mentions underneath the video, which was posted on the Senators' official Twitter account, by the way, to go down the list of Senators fans' mentions, the unanimous consent is get Melnick out of here. Just get out. We don't want to hear from you. We don't care. Trade Carlson or sign him. Just leave. Please stop talking.
It's never a good thing when fans are that perturbed by an owner. I am firmly of the belief that owners should sign checks.
They've taken out billboards. Melnick out. They want him gone.
Wow.
I again bring up that I bring up this as a final point of just how crazy weird that video was. So the NHL recently switched from Reebok to Adidas for their jerseys. Guess which one Melnick is wearing?
Reebok?
Yep, he's wearing an old Reebok jersey. He's not even wearing the new official jersey that he could very easily get because he owns the damn team. Nope, he's wearing his trusty old Reebok.
That's funny. That's awesome.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I saw this and thought, okay, do I want to wait for my hockey podcast to talk about this, or do I need to watch this? It was like, no, I got to watch this. I got to see this now.
Exactly.
It's 5.5 minutes of cringeworthy corporate PR that is pretty much all wrong.
Sounds pretty normal.
Sounds about right. But that was probably my craziest thing for, again, late night NHL Twitter, where the Pacioretty trade breaks at 2 a.m. and Eugene Melnick is talking at midnight for some reason.
Gotta love it. Gotta love Twitter.
I love Twitter. All right, Christian, final thoughts on this Wednesday.
College football is awesome, and if you disagree, you're wrong. It's that simple.
I never said it wasn't awesome.
I know. It's just awesomer. It's awesomer.
You didn't say it. You implied that I said that.
It's awesomer. It's awesomer.
All right, then. All right, I'm just gonna throw up my hands on this one. I'll wave my white flag and call it an episode. That is the end of the Wednesday edition. Matt and Jake will be back with you on Friday. Thank you again for joining us here in the Cheap Seats. We bring you everything you need to know for the upcoming week around the water cooler at the office. Do they still have water coolers at offices?
It's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah, you know what? It's not important right now. It's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us. And remember, if you are the owner of a pro sports team, maybe don't force one of your players to interview you. Just maybe a good idea. Thank you. We'll be back again next week. Have a great one.